to the first ever episode of VD Talk with your hosts, Zino and.
Zeus.
Right, so this is a show where we talk about all things pop culture, sports, with a heavy dose of politics. And I think we started the show because, well, Zeus, why did we start the show?
Because we like to talk, and there's no one to talk to during the pandemic. And so,
good enough
so we were just like, you know what? No, for real, the story was, I remember you wrote something down Facebook. I liked it, and I've always liked your point of views. And I just told you, I was like, hey, man, you should start a podcast. And he was like, I've always wanted to start a podcast. And I was like, so did I. And then here we are. We started a podcast.
Yeah.
You know?
There is.
What better time than when everybody has nothing else to do but listen to podcasts?
I mean, look, people start carpentry, people learn another language, we start a podcast, So you go. So, what's on the agenda for today?
Well, today, so since this is our first podcast, and obviously you and I both have unique stories, different backgrounds, right? And we also have opinions on just about everything. The majority of the theme of today's show is going to be about representation. Probably the majority of the theme of our entire podcast will always be representation. Because like I said, we are two different minorities. We represent different outlooks on life. We represent different blocks of the country, so because we're a melting pot. So we're just two small parts of the melting pot. And, we're going to talk about different things. But today we're going to talk about probably the most important things, which is superhero movies. Top 5 superhero movies starts it off. Then we're going to lead that hopefully into representation about the media, in the media. Then we're going to talk about politics and a little bit of sports, So let's go ahead and start off first by introducing ourselves. So Zino, first, let us know who you are, a little bit of backstory, and just and then I'll talk about myself.
My origin story, so to speak. So my name is Zino Adoni, or Zino as most people call me. And I'm American, but I was born in Nigeria. Yes, I'm Nigerian American. I've been here more than half my life, so basically Georgia is home for me. And I'm an IT nerd. Love movies, anime, soccer, all the above. And that's about my MO for now. So I'm just gonna hand it off to you, Zeus.
All right. My name is Jesus, but we're gonna go by Zeus because otherwise JC talk doesn't sound as good as ZZ talk. So
yeah, it really doesn't.
So I was also born in a foreign place. I was born in Dallas, Texas, and then I moved over here around 1990 when I was around 5 or 6. So you guys want to do the math of my age? 34 years young. Next, I think Wednesday. So I'm a father of, I'm married. I have a twin boy and girl, Jesus and Camilla. And yeah, I was raised here since 1990. So I bleed red and black Atlanta Falcons. I like sports. I love the Falcons. So when we talk about football, we'll probably talk a lot about the Falcons. But
we do love the thing that hurt us the most, right? So
Exactly. But yeah, so I'm like that and like you, but I do like sports. So one thing that we'll definitely be able to talk about is sports, and then I love movies, so I watch a lot of movies. I don't know if you can see them, read a lot of books, so so we'll have some stuff to talk about, but we'll get to know each other as this podcast goes. So just keep listening to us, and you'll learn more about us. So like I said, the very first thing that we were going to talk about today is top 5 superhero movies because we feel like that represents us because we're both superheroes.
Yeah, it's a good way to get to learn about us. So, you want me to start with mine?
Do you have your list? Because I actually Zeno didn't come prepared. I wrote our first episode down. So, do you have?
I have instructions on how to put my chair together. So that doesn't help very much.
No, not at all. All right, so let me start off. I'm just gonna talk about my top 5, right? And then people who don't care about superhero movies, please don't turn this off. This will lead into more stuff. But first and foremost, top 5 superhero movies. I just want to go real fast. Winter Soldier by Captain America. Spider-Man 2.
Wait. I'm sorry. Are you starting from 1 and then going to 5, or are you going from 5 to 1?
No, 1 to, yeah, I know. You're like, how dare you put Winter Soldier at 5? No. Winter Soldier's number 1. Let me go 1. I should have gone 5 to 1. Let me go 5 to 1 then. So X-Men 2 is my top.
For regular people here.
Yeah, my bad. So number 5 is X-Men 2.
Okay.
Right? We can go into why that one is, because honestly, X-Men is like probably one of the it's the earliest franchise and probably is one of the most polarizing franchises because they have like some really good movies and they have some really crap movies, but X2 is still one of my favorites. Then number 4 is Infinity Wars. I actually put right here that it's actually probably the most important movie in this genre. Just, you know what I mean? Just based on how it culminated and how it built up and all that good stuff. Number 3 is Dark Knight. Number 2 is Spider-Man 2. And number 1 is Winter Soldier. Hey, real quickly, we do have to, after we're done doing this, though, we do got to mention where we met, because we have a friend who definitely wants to have a shout out on the very first episode. So go ahead with your 5, but we definitely got to mention where we met.
Okay. So my 5, my unprepared 5, would be, honestly, I think all 5 of them are in the MCU. And I know people are going to be like, oh, such a noob. But, it is what it is. So number 5 has to be Black Panther. It was my number 1 for a while. Yeah, I am from Wakanda. No, sorry. I'm from Nigeria. Around where Wakanda would be if it was a real place. So Black Panther's number 5. Winter Soldier, number 4. I'm sorry, Zeus, but it is one of the great spots, but it's not number 1.
I need to know.
Number 3. Number 3 would be, and I'm pretty sure I'm jumbling this around, but I actually want to put Spider-Man Homecoming as number 3. And a crazy talk, I know.
It's good. It's still good.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. It's down to earth, right? It's a teen movie, but it's also a superhero movie, and you just feel like even though the stakes aren't as high as like the Avengers movies and all that stuff, you still feel like there's something worth watching, and I mean that scene between Michael Keaton and Tom Holland in the car where they're sitting with
that's and Michael Keaton is probably one of the best villains that the MCU ever had, and I hope they bring him back. I really do hope they bring him back. Okay, well, all right, that's your number 3. What's your number 2?
And my number 2 and number 1 star the best villain the MCU has ever had, and that's Thanos. So Infinity War is number 2 and Endgame is number 1. Because, maybe in silos, they aren't, the best movies ever. But in the context of what they built over the course of a decade, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. They were hitting all the notes. They were like, oh, our fans love this thing? Well, here it is again. And, oh, you guys want to hear Avengers Assemble? Well, we got it for you in the most epic way possible. So, for me, I go to watch superhero movies to be enthralled and to just feel something. And these movies encapsulate that for me.
So you're saying that Infinity Wars, or both of those, right? And you could have cheated, by the way. You could have said that was your number 1 and put them together, and you could have had 6, but that's okay.
I could have, but I'm unprepared.
What does the chair assembly say? But anyways, but
it says Ragnarok.
Oh wow. but anyways, but actually, yeah, you could say that. So you're saying that Infinity Wars is basically probably should always be someone's a comic book fan's favorite because it like puts everything in there that you want.
Right, because a movie like that doesn't happen without the likes of Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and the likes of X-Men. With Bryan Singer, who he has his issues. No, is this Bryan Singer? No,
I think it's Bryan Singer. He's the one
Yeah,
that
okay.
yeah, he's the one that outed Ellen Page, I think. Maybe, I don't know. Hold off
Oh,
on that.
well,
We'll find out
yeah,
because that's slanderous. So
yeah. Let's put that out there. It's not true. He has his own issues, but that X-Men trilogy, and the Spider-Man trilogy set the stage for what we see today, where superhero movies aren't just camp anymore. They're like, an annual fanfare type of deal. So obviously they're built on the backs of those, and that was the Russo brothers telling us, "Hey, this is where we are now. This is actually something where we put our heart and soul into it because we care about what you care about. We're fans just as you're fans. So for that, I give them the number one spot.
okay, and I can't hate on that. And I'm trying to make sure that we're not going to get sued. So I'm trying to find out if
On the first
show. But yeah, but that's what I heard, and actually that can so Ellen Page being of the LGBTQ community, right? That kind of can lead us into our next part, which is hopefully people haven't turned off and said, oh, I don't want to hear about superheroes. I want to hear about other stuff, But that can bleed into representation in the media, which is the second thing we were going to talk about, right? Because I remember you and I had a conversation, right? In our conversation, shout out to Amanda. We talked about how we met at one of our friends' weddings, right? After you crashed her bachelorette cruise, which is a good story too.
Can I tell that story?
Yeah, go ahead.
About the bachelorette thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
because by the way, you met my wife first there. Remember, you met my wife first there, and she talked about Zino. And what's your friend's name? I forgot his name.
Dave.
Yeah, she was talking about you two, and she's like, "Yeah, they came over, and it was like they're crashing our bachelorette party, and man, they were so much fun."
Well, thank you, Kathy. So let me tell the story. So Amanda and I have been friends since college, right? And so Amanda, gives me the good news that she's engaged and she's getting married and such. And myself, Amanda, and another friend, Caitlin, went out to dinner to celebrate. And so just making conversation, I was like, "Oh, what are you guys doing for your bachelorette party?" And she was like, "Oh, we're going on a cruise." And I think Caitlin said something like, "Wouldn't it be so funny if you just showed up on the cruise?" And then I laughed. It would be funny. And then I messaged my friend Dane afterwards. I was like, "Hey, you want to go on the cruise?" He was like, "Yeah, sure." So then I told Caitlin that Dane and I are definitely going to be on the cruise. When is it? And so we coordinated with Caitlin, ended up surprising them on the cruise, and it was a lot of fun. And that's where I met Kathy, and then through Kathy I met you.
And real quickly, it wasn't Singer, it was Brett Ratner. So
Brett Ratner, that's who it was. Thank you.
So apparently there needs to be a better vetting process when it comes to directors of superhero movies. Because the first few ones were a little bit suspect. But anyways. But yeah, that's how you. And then, like I said, my wife told me about you on the cruise, and then when I met you at the wedding, we kicked it off and we had fun, and then we also met at another. We ended up seeing each other at another friend's housewarming party, and then what was it, like 3 or 4 years later? Here we are doing a podcast.
Yeah, actually, we haven't been in the same room for 3 years.
Nope, we have not. But we've been on Facebook and we conversate a lot on Facebook because. I don't know if you had a lot of time, but I have a lot of time on my hands, so that's why I'm on Facebook all the time.
I mean, as far as we know, we don't have the lower halves of our bodies.
So, anyways, so representation in the media, right? So you mentioned the Black Panther, right? You mentioned Black Panther. So being African, speak on how, because the thing is, unfortunately, as a Latino man, I really don't have that someone to represent. If there is someone to represent, I haven't been able to really discover them. Honestly, I jokingly said Machete would be the closest superhero that Mexicans have. But the way I looked at it was because Machete is unapologetically Mexican, right?
Right.
Unapologetically Hispanic. The same thing with Black Panther. That movie is unapologetically African. right? So it speaks to somebody. So it speaks to Africa, but it also speaks to African Americans here. It probably, and I don't know. I don't have any friends that are of Afro Caribbean or Afro Latino that maybe it speaks to them too, and different parts of the country and different parts of the world. So speak on that. Speak on that, like representation in the media, the importance of representation in the media. Because I know me and you talked about how when we were growing up, a kid doesn't care about the race of a superhero. Not really. A little black kid and a little Hispanic kid will act like will want to be Superman, not caring that Superman is a white guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they don't pay attention to that part. After a while, they do, right? Pay attention to it because that's just what happens in this country. We just get talked about race a lot, and it just comes to the forefront, right? But growing up, we really didn't care about superheroes, right? Growing up, I was the Black Power Ranger, because black was my
Growing
favorite
up, I
color.
wanted to be a turtle.
So you know what I mean? So we don't care about that. But you mentioned an incredible story about seeing I think you said on the news or maybe on YouTube about a kid being very excited about Black Panther. So kind of speak on that. Speak on the importance with you and also on the importance of representation in the media, period. Because I definitely have some stuff to say about the lack of representation, even though it's starting to come for Latinos. But even then, there's still a lot of work to do in regards to representation for African American community and the Black community.
Okay, yeah. So let me start off by saying, to echo what you said earlier, when we were growing up, right, it's not the kind of thing where because I loved The Flash, like the comics. Or even in the Cartoon Network Justice League show, The Flash is always my favorite, right? He's a white guy. And it never even came to my mind about that. So, when the phrase representation matters was always being thrown around, I was like, okay, I mean, I guess. I didn't really think so. But then the first time that I really felt it was when, well, I don't know if it's the first time, but one of the most prominent times that I really felt it was when the movie Black Panther came out, right? So part of it was, seeing how, everyone was so excited to get to see it. People were wearing the kente cloth and the African attire to get to see it. That was all well and good. But another thing is, when we were watching it, it was one of the first times that you see a major production being run exclusively through the lens of Black people, African people. Even though obviously Chadwick Boseman is African American, he's not from West Africa, first generation or whatever. It doesn't matter. The idea that they are telling this story of a fictional African kingdom, but it's the idea that if Africa is left untouched, this is the greatness that it can have. And we are kings. We're queens. Princes and princesses. And as I was watching, I was like, I like this. I feel something. I wasn't expecting to feel, right? Before I get to the story about the little kid I was talking about, I think he was on Good Morning America as well. But before I get to that, I saw Black Panther in theaters 3 times, which isn't something I normally do, going to see these movies multiple times. But I saw it in theaters 3 times. The second time, I took my parents to go see it, right? And my parents wanted to go see it because they can hear about it, Black Panther. So I took them to go see it. And there's that scene where they're doing the challenge, right? Where Mbaku comes out and he's challenging T'Challa for the throne, and
we have
speaking
from the mountains.
Yeah, like that. So he starts speaking, and immediately, right? And anyone who's followed Winston Duke or seen any interviews about that will know that Winston Duke got the inspiration for the accent from West African countries, more specifically Nigeria. And my mom immediately turns to me when Winston Duke started speaking. She's like, "Is he Nigerian?" No, it's true, that is. But like immediately she was engaged because she seen herself or her people on there, which is not something, these aren't the stories that she's used to seeing, right? So, that's one of those things where you don't realize it matters till it actually happens. Um,
Real
but
quickly,
yeah,
I just
yeah,
wanted to point out that because my best friend is also he's African too. He's from Kenya, and he was talking about all those tribes represented different portions of Africa, right? Like
hmm
I think I forget which one he said, but some of them represented the most like the more Kenya side. Uh,
there's the one with the disc in his
no,
mouth,
I don't think he
the
said
disc in
that
his
one
lips.
represented that. He said that's more probably more like a different area, but it was more
Mm-hmm.
the ship, the ones that were the you know what I mean? Like
Marinade, yeah,
yeah, them because Kenya they have a port and all that stuff. So he was talking about that, but he was saying like even among that, there was still mini representation within
yeah,
that movie itself, which was
yeah.
even more. It just kind of just shows like, look, we need representation just about anywhere we can get it because you might not pay attention to it, but once it's there, you just get a sense of pride for it.
Right.
Like
Yeah. So real quick, the kid I was talking about, and maybe we'll put a link in the description for the GMA story. But it's this kid had seen, according to his mom, Black Panther like 4 or 5 times. I think that's ridiculous to spend that much money on one movie, but apparently he really loved it. And uh,
you watched it 3 times though.
I well, 3 is less than 5. So he memorized every single line from that challenge scene that I mentioned earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every single line of Mbappe, and it was great. Like I will not have it though, speaking all that. And when he was in GMA, he was like really shy, like timid. And then his mom was like, he's usually pretty reserved, but this was the first movie that made him, want to do anything like this. That made him feel like being creative and having that outlet. So I don't know. I just thought it was like a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. Um, and actually, so real quickly, if anybody is like commenting on YouTube, if you guys want to comment like maybe a top 5 list of movies that you want, because me and him watch a lot of movies. I think you say watch more shows than movies, or it's a good.
It's a good mix. I definitely used to be more TV show heavy. I think what's happened now with the golden age of TV is there's almost too much good content that I feel like I'm not watching any of it. So now I almost strictly do movies.
You want to know how true that statement is? You want to know what show I just started binging? House of Cards.
Oh, that's a really good one until like the very end. Sorry.
Yeah, well, Kevin Spacey went and messed everything up. But
Yeah.
anyways, so man, dang, we were talking about Kevin Spacey, Brian Saint, man, this all these guys.
Yeah. Brett Ratner, not Brian Singer.
Huh?
Brett Ratner, not Brian Singer.
No, but Brian Singer got accused of something too.
Oh, him too? Damn it.
So that's what I'm saying, man. Look, guys, time's up. Hashtag me too. Hey,